everybody. Thank you, Kay, for stopping by and liking the like button. And Sarah, too. Thank you. I know there's a lot of sprints happening today. I know Heather is sprinting at 11, or no, at the top of the hour. There, yeah. So, everybody everywhere. Um, we've made it to our first Monday of January. My rechargeable heated gloves came in I found them this morning. They are lovely. They're like those little heated, those little heat packs, you know? Oh, they're very lovely. Very lovely. Um, yeah, so what are you drinking? What are you doing? How's the week going? Um, Jen's doing her letters, her weekly letters to people. I got to work on the cookbook this morning. It took me a little while, but I did do it. I had to run outside to put mail in the mailbox, which is how I found these guys. I am on super dopamine. I had a package arrive last night that had some dopamine in it, which made me happy. Got to wear my hoodie yesterday. It was so warm. Oh, it was such a warm hoodie. I'm in layers today. I have on a shirt and a pair of leggings, thick leggings on underneath a sweater dress, and now fingerless gloves.
26, but feels like 15.
Yeah, it's chilly for North Texas. I know people up north, this is a completely different story. You're used to chilly weather, but for North Texas, this is cold. This is uber cold. Anything below 70 for us is chilly, right?
Nope.
So to have it in the 20s, it is very cold for us, very cold. So yeah, we are very cold. I've been doing some glamming, some rearranging and stuff. So the painting of the uh, light bulbs right there, I did that with the help of Art by Sherpa, I think it is,
Yeah,
the YouTube
Art
channel.
Sherpa.
Art Sherpa. So hi Cosmic. If you want me to call you anything else, let me know. I love Cosmic though. That's cool. It's nice to see you. Um, yeah, I've got me a chai vanilla latte here on my mug warmer in my favorite Ohana means family mug. Cosmic is good. Awesome. Awesome. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I've been working on the office a little bit to give you guys a little bit more. I got my purple lights on, and the pom poms are back there. My bamboo, oh my goodness, that bamboo is doing fantabulous. I bought this bamboo. Some of you may know I bought this bamboo back when I published my first novel, Into the Fire. And that was almost 5 years ago, or around 5 years ago. So, yes. And of course, I have my son's picture up there. So, because I adopted eight boys that live in South Korea. 2 of them are Australian. Uh, but yeah, so been doing a little bit on the office back here. Um, whew, already gotten stuff done. We're working through the cookbook. So yay, love the purple. Purple's my favorite color. It's mine too. It's my signature color for my author brand. My other one is more of a maroon for Anne Crow, because blood, urban fantasy. But for yeah, it's my hair dye is coming in. It should be in Wednesday. So I will be purple again because the only thing that's purple on me now is like my ends. So everything's getting a whole new shade of purple. So looking forward to that. Um, yeah. Let's see, the cookbook. I'm going to be handing that off to my OCD proofreader at the end of this week. I'm also noticing you like stray kids. Yes, those are my sons. I adopted them. They don't. They don't know. They might know. I did an unboxing of my first album that I bought from them, which I bought Hop, and yeah, my Skizu. Jen got me this. Um, my Skizu bag. Um, yes, my sons from Korea. Uh, um, great music to if you need music to clean, you need to get your hyped up and you need to clean, put on Stray Kids. I use them all the time. They wake me up in the morning. I used to have the alarm clock of Felix's voice going wakey wakey. Well, Bang Chen watches loads of Stray Kids, can relate related stuff. So that and IN. IN is their little spy, apparently. IN will go, hey. I loved they watched, what was it, people who had done covers of their songs. And they were so sweet to them and the things they said. And they are such good boys. Such good boys. I'm very proud of my boys. And Felix did not get lost this Christmas at the big event because he had Sungmin and Bingchen behind him, making sure he didn't get lost or kidnapped. So, because he got kidnapped last year or the year before, because a couple of members of another band kind of, hugged Felix and kind of kidnapped him away from the rest of them, and they didn't know Felix had gotten kidnapped. So yeah, but they made sure they had people behind Felix making sure he didn't get kidnapped or lost. Because he's a little notorious for getting lost at that Christmas event. um, but let's see, what else do we got going? Oh, episode 10 of Hematite Without Faith, my urban fantasy, drops on Thursday, and our first episode of Amber and Ashes, a new urban fantasy series, drops on Friday. Jen and I have been working on it, and I'm excited to get this to you guys. So that's exciting. I am working on the box set, but right now the cookbook is taking priority because I need to get the cookbook out. So if I have time, I work on the last story for the box set. Which one of your books would you recommend to start with? My first one, Into the Fire. It's the first in the Fire series. It's my romance suspense novel series by S.A. Crow. It is the one that starts all of them. I'm doing a connective series that connects a whole group of friends. So you learn about the friends in each book and what's going on with them. So it's kind of a continuation. Um, but that's the one I recommend. If you're interested in my urban fantasy, then Hematite Without Faith is a good serial for you to start with. It takes place between books 1 and 2, which have not come out yet, but they have been drafted. And I hope to have book 1 out soon. So, thank you. I love stories where you get to keep up with people and find out how they're doing. And so, like book 2 of the Fire series, The Fire Inside, we have Raven and Travis's wedding. So even though it's not their book, we have their wedding. So no, that was book 3 that the wedding is. Book 3 has the wedding, not book 2. But yeah. Let's see, what else do we have going on? On the Wings for Writers, we are looking for authors for the anthology. Um, so yeah, um, we have slots for 16 authors. It's fantasy, so you can do any subgenre of fantasy. The theme is the gray area between good and evil. So yes, I'm a big into romantasy. I'm currently reading Quicksilver. Ooh, I'll have to look up Quicksilver by Kuntz. Dean Kuntz? No, he writes mystery. That's still a mystery. I Frankenstein?
No, not that. Not Frankenstein. You got two.
She. I live with this every day.
There it is.
By Calling Hart. Collie Hart. Okay. Oh my goodness. What else is going on this month? I am contacting Adrian of Adrian Books by Adrian so we can do his interview again. I went into the hospital, so that's why we didn't get to do the interview in December, but we will get it to you guys, I promise. I was going to go on a trip this weekend, but with the weather, I'm not. I'm not driving out in this. Do you write smut or do you do black? Ah, um, I don't write smut.
She reads it.
I read it. I do read smut. My mysteries, my urban fantasy, because it is a noir, I have to follow certain rules that are noir rules. So we kind of stop at the doorway sometimes. I go a little bit more, but not too far. My romance, on the other hand, I'm gonna say classy. What would you say? Classy?
Yeah, sure.
Classy sex scenes? You know, like like your TV show. It's not. I'm not. Play by play, but your friend outing you. Oh yes, yes. My partner. She makes life interesting. That is for sure. I couldn't live without her or the puppies. Um, let's see what else is happening this month. Anthology, the cookbook, the box set, um, interview with Adrian. I am taking part in the AuthorTuber Booktuber Marathon. Um, so that is linked already up and scheduled, so you can click notify me. Also, I'm doing Tea with Jane Austen. This month's theme is Jane Austen. And so Tea with Jane Austen on the 20, I think it's the 28th. Hold on a second. On the 28th, so we're going to talk about how badass Jane Austen is, and or was, still is. She's still relevant to today because she wrote about people, and that I think is how you keep your stuff from being totally dated, is to write about people. So, in the human condition. But yeah, so we're going to talk about Jane Austen, how awesome she is, and some games and some fun stuff. So that you have to look forward to. Our author of the month is Dawn Dalton. Go to dawndalton.com. Um, she's give a little love, share her social media, check out her books, check out her newsletter, her blog, stuff like that. And now I'm getting warm. Okay, so it's press and hold to turn off. Okay, there we go. Oh, okay. All right. So, we ready for some tips and tricks? We have been working through The Writer's Little Helper by James B. Smith Jr. Highly recommend this. I stole it from my roommate. Um, so we're on another checklist today. Last week was a checklist too, but today's is avoiding amateur mistakes checklist. So first and foremost, stay out of the story. Don't stick your nose into the fictional world with expressions like, if she only knew what was waiting for her on the other side of that door, and he was wrong, or little did she know. But you probably consider these examples so elementary that it is an insult to your intelligence for me to list them. And besides, an entire unfortunate event series is hugely successful right now using that very technique. Even so, odds are there's really no room for you in the story. So let me give you some of the less obvious ways an author can intrude, ways you should avoid. So intrusive mistakes to avoid. I have a question. I'm a fanfic author, but I have issues with describing vividly. Any tips? Yes. My biggest tip for describing vividly is use your five senses, your character's five senses. What do they smell? What do they see? What do they hear? What do they taste? And did I say touch? What do they touch? I think. Um, and that's how I try to do vivid. Also, look using looking at it as if you're looking at through a camera. You know, look at like shows. Like they'll focus on something. Like say, oh, the opening to Almost Famous. One of the opening images is the needle going down on a record. And that is such iconic image to music. And it means so much to the film and what the film is about, you know, being music and how music affects you and you know and things like that and how it affects your life. That was such a vivid image. And so yeah, think about an image but also use your senses and that will help with vivid descriptions. So hopefully that helps. Also, if you're looking for a writing group to help with those kinds of things, we are having a live critique read night on Thursday, this Thursday. So head on over to On the Wings for Writers. We'd love to have you. Okay, so here's our intrusion mistakes to avoid. Tired expressions, like right out of sitcoms, movies, or even the day's news. Using them is like putting a stick-on note in the margin of your manuscript. Hi, I'm the author and I watch too much TV. Hell yo, don't go there. I don't think so isn't as in any sitcom or teen conversation. So basically, you try to avoid very dated, tired expressions, unless you're trying to. Oh, you're welcome. Unless you're trying to date a story. My urban fantasy series that I write is set in a certain time frame. So it's set back in the early 90s, early to mid 90s. And so I've been trying to do things like songs that would be on the radio, scents like certain perfumes that were very popular at that time, you know, and ways I could date the story without saying it's mid 90s. So it was, yeah, little things like that that you would catch if you know. So like if you grew up in the 90s or you know that kind of thing, then you would catch it. You'd be like, oh, this is in the 90s. Okay. And like some of the things they can't do because they don't have phones like we have now. They don't have the internet speeds that we have. Things are clunkier and bigger, like the dial up and the CRT tube computers and that monitors and that kind of thing. Thank you, Jen. Yeah, show don't tell. Yep. Okay, the next one is goofy gimmicks or grammatic gadgets such as alliteration, writing with words that begin with the same letter, and odd punctuation like multiple exclamation points. Cute quote marks. She had never met an author so tall, 7 feet, an athletic, literal giant. Do you see the quotes? That's the author. He's winking at you from behind the narrative, telling you he's made a funny, watching you to notice it. Take off the quotes and an irony works just as well. Preaching from the mouth of a character. When I hear a novel's heroine use a tired expression like male chauvinistic pig, whether the language comes in quotes or not, I know the writer couldn't find a more artful, less preachy way to say the same thing. Sometimes find talking like this while someone yelling to make me out of a book too. Oh yeah. Yeah, the capitalized yelling. Yeah. Brand name revelations. I like concrete detail, research, and accuracy in the things I read as well as the next reader. But after the 10th new vintage wine is described, dated, and delivered, it's clear to me that the author is showing off his inner onophile. Onophile? I'm assuming that means a wine connoisseur? Or it could be a wine connoisseur. Now I've got to look it up. Okay, let's find out what this one. Onophile. Oenophile. Onophile. Someone who appreciates wine. So it was true. It was about the wine. Okay. Political correct assumptions and observations. Not that some characters shouldn't be written as PC, but the author shouldn't take liberties outside of character to push a theme. I can see that. In my urban fantasy, there's a reason my main character, Avril, uses they or them or gender neutral pronouns because she can see through their glamour. So she has no idea how that person is presenting to the world in general because she sees who they look like without the glamour. So when she's looking at a vampire that's not Eastern European, like say the Tibetan vampire, that's very not Eastern European vampire, she has no idea if that vampire is presenting to everyone else as female or male or androgynous or whatever. So she uses gender neutral pronouns to avoid, upsetting anyone or letting anyone know that she can see through their glamour. Because she doesn't want that broadcasted everywhere. Because people don't like it. They don't like that she can see through that. It makes them feel vulnerable in my world. So yeah. Okay. Wink and nod. This often includes phrases like of course and naturally, as in the example, of course he didn't say word to influence her decision to get an abortion. Except for the writer herself, this is a tricky situation to judge. Sometimes it's a character narrator who uses the word or phrase in the sense of he knew better than to try. But it's also possible the author was speaking out. So the next one is out of character narration and description. Sometimes you read words coming from a character's mouth that just don't sound familiar. a change of voice or attitude with no apparent reason for the change. That's the author showing off his big vocabulary or big whoop options. I'd like to have a dime for every time I've committed this sin. So apparently this author is just as bad at it. I hate when people say it's obvious when it wasn't. Yes.
Or apparently.
Apparently. Naked cliches. Ooh. When a writer uses them stale out of the box, he's annoying his reader just as surely as chewing gum with his mouth open. The reader is thinking, can't this guy come up with language a bit more inventive? Thus the author intrusion. So basically, really, really well-known cliches. Awkward constructions. Anytime a reader stumbles over your words, you have broken through the facade of fiction to announce your presence behind the page. Yeah, I can see that. Static situations and lengthy descriptions. What Elmore Leonard calls the stuff readers skip. When readers skip, the writer has allowed his presence to be felt, unpleasantly so. There comes a time when you have to go, okay, we don't need that much. Pontificating. This includes philosophizing, musing, wondering, and other subtle forms of pontificating. That sounds like something you have to do. Pontificate. Repetition. When you repeat a pet phrase or even an odd word in a story, it calls attention to itself. When you use it more often, it calls attention to the author, as in, don't you own a thesaurus? My wife hates it when I use the phrase state of the art even once. I uh, I did have a repetition of a image in my second book, The Fire Inside, because that was their thing, was to hold out a hand and offer it to the other one. It was their way of saying I'm sorry, or am I forgiven, or are we okay? And so it was their thing. But I didn't like overdo it, I don't think. I think I was lucky and I didn't overdo it. Anything too quirky. I like quirky writing. Other writers' quirks and my own, but sometimes they can destroy the ambience of a piece of writing. I hate to confess it, but I lose a lot in the reading of Chaucer when it's written in the original Middle English. Thing that is said, and forth is goof. You can forgive Chaucer for those quirks because it was his English before we made it ours, but there's a line in Tom Wolfe's Bonfire of the Vanities, which is an odd cackling laugh set in type. Oh, okay. That kind of quirk could get old fast, like the handheld camera technique in some films, especially when the commercials. Oh, when the camera circles an actor's head a dozen times at high speed. When should an author's voice be heard? Never. Keep yourself out of the story altogether unless you're writing one of those fictional first-person memoirs or whatever they call them. So he says, keep yourself out of there. So next week we'll be doing structuring your first words. So look forward to that. Let me put it back away. So what are some ways you think that you put yourself in your work and not have it be I am sure I do it. I am very sure I do it. Because I'm still learning. I'm still learning all the time. Who is that book by? I enjoyed it. It is by James V. Smith Jr., and it's the writer's little helper. And it's got checklists and all sorts of helpful tips and tricks. And we'll keep working through it. Oh, goodness, I'm sliding. Our house slopes, and so I'm going that direction. Oh, let me wet my throat before I read this chapter to you guys. Oh, tea. Mm-hmm. Okay, so, and I will probably find some of those things they talked about when I read this chapter for you guys. So I'm sure of it. All right, let me move that over. Okay, so sit back, grab your drink, chillax, and I'm going to do some reading for you guys. This is chapter 5 of If the Seas Catch Fire, which is book 3 in the Fire series. If you would like to hear the previous chapters, there's a playlist for Tea Time, If the Seas Catch Fire. If you'd like to hear me read books 1 and 2, they have their own playlist as well. Says, I've noticed people can tell I'm English from the words I use in my fanfics. I have to try and do more research if it's set in America or something. Oh, yeah, because we have different, there's different things. I catch it when I read somebody who's English from England and they've written something and I'm like, oh, you used been or you used lift. You used phrases that are very British instead of English American. And so yeah. But it's okay. It doesn't take me out of it. I just all of a sudden now I'm like, oh, now I know the author is British. But yeah, I could see well that, yeah. Depends on where you're setting it at. So yeah. All right. This time I fail to hear the ding of the elevator doors opening. With his lips on mine, his hands gripping my hips, he moves us out of the doorway. Which way, sweet? His voice was husky with desire in my ear, the salty scent of his skin filling my senses. I find the direction of my room number as I try to gain some sanity. He follows close behind, the heat of his body along my back causing goosebumps to rise on my arms. Stopping at my number door, I try to turn up the key card in my crimson clutch purse, but that matches the ruffled part and bow on the little black dress I'm wearing. As I attempt to get it into the reader, he nuzzles into my hair, whispering about what he wants to do to me, with me, and for me. Thanks to those above, the light turns green and the sound of the lock disengaging echoes in the space of my held breath. We tumble into the room, kissing and touching on a freshly made bed. He easily ushers me to sit as he stands in front of me, taking in the sight of me with a big awe filling his face. Remember that time you modeled for Anna? When you took off your robe, your beauty buckled my knees. As he talks, he slides off the sports coat. Slides off the sports coat and lays it over the desk behind him, along with the blue folder that he had tucked under his arm. My breathing increases as he reaches back and grabs the neck of his shirt and does that sexy as hell move of pulling it one-handed over his head. He's lean, muscled, and cut. The Apollo belt between his hips makes me drool and want to lick him from hip to hip, following that delicious line of muscle. I love the way you look at me. I should sit down before I lose my footing again. You can drive a man to his knees. He goes to his and on the carpet, his body between my thighs that open without thought, making room for him. He cradles my head in his hands and kisses my lips softly. Steve licks from one edge to the other and nips the corner of my mouth. Why did we wait so long? But the build-up has been worth this. He continues to kiss me tenderly and lick my lower lip, even though I've opened for him. I reach up, grabbing his hair, and pull back with a growl that surprises even me for an instant before I tell him to stop teasing. He smiles a cocky smile. Yes, ma'am. His hands glide up to the rear of my legs and up under the skirt of my gown, caressing my thighs and making circles. He's reaching the edge of my silk panties as he slowly moves to my center, finding them wet with my desire. He lifts my dress and puts his mouth on to me as I feel my heels sinking into the plush carpet. The silk between his lips and the tongue in my flesh is driving me crazy. But I can't tell him to hurry. He removes my panties as I say yes repeatedly. His warm breath feathers over my opening, and then I lose it when his tongue touches me. My fists are in his hair, nails scoring his scalp. He brings me babbling to a climax as I grab for him, and he rises before me. I attack his pants as he helps me by removing his shoes, and then we're rolling around, both of us seeking control. We mutually give in to each other, and the ecstasy of finally coming together makes my chest both feel light and heavy with emotions I don't want. I collapse in a puddle on top of his chest, and for a moment I'm at peace, my brain quiet, my body relaxed. It feels so right to be in his arms, and the serenity lasts until the panic sets in. The closest I ever got to this feeling was with Dustin, and I paid for it with a broken heart, thanks to the Huber woman's curse. How did I let myself get this far with Steve, knowing that I'm just doomed to repeat the same mistakes as my mom and grandma? I must have gotten caught up in how he makes me feel. It's terrifying how much I enjoy the Mallory he brings out in me. We talk, we banter, even the way he catches my eye from across the room. It's all so intoxicating. But I can't let myself feel the pain of not being good enough again. I can't. I won't. My frame tenses, and I can't seem to stop it. I'm sure he can feel it because I hear him sigh under me. He's got to be thinking about how he has better things to do now that he's scratched this insistent itch. Would you like to? He motions with his thumb at the door, and I feel my heart sink. Yet a sense of relief washes over me that he's the one to end it. I think we should. They'll all notice we're gone, and tonight should be about Raven and Travis, don't you think? I can't believe I let him make the first move to the end of the moment, but I can't linger and let him in too far. You're right, it's their day. You want first dibs on the shower? Yes, please. I already dressed when he comes out of the bathroom, a towel wrapped around his waist and rubbing another through his thick hair. He makes my mouth drool, damn it. I have to attend this political dinner in a few days. I could use a friend there with me. Is he asking because he doesn't want this to be a one-time situation? I put him off, telling him I'll think about it. How will I keep myself safe if I'm around him after tonight? The likelihood that we'll fall back into bed and I won't be able to tell him no or guard my heart increases each time. He leads me out of the room and toward the elevator banks after he gets dressed and collects that blue folder. Along the way, he tells me a story about a woman he dated once. This widow, yeah. Her husband had concocted this weird scheme to send her letters for the year after he died, Steve says, as the doors open before us and we walk inside. We tried, but it was just too strange, and so we stayed friends instead. I stare at him for a full minute as the elevator moves towards the lobby and he refuses to meet my gaze. Finally, it dawns on me, some movie plot I remember Rave gushing about at some point, and I call him out on it as the doors open. Damn it, Steve, that wasn't your date. That's the script from a rom-com. Anna starts laughing, and Tony joins in with her as we finally realize that they are waiting to get on the elevator. Tony, Anna, I step into the mirrored, polished lobby, ignoring whatever other nonsense Steve might come up with and leaving him behind. Travis motions me over to where he is watching Raven chat with his mother. As I draw closer to him, he moves a few steps away from the other women. I'm so glad you said yes to being Raven's maid of honor. She's so happy, Travis. You keep her that way, I warn him. He smiles at me and chuckles a bit. Speaking of keeping her ecstatic, I need your help in that department. Well, I guess everyone needs new pointers every now and again. I tap my chin thoughtfully. But it seems a little early to be lacking that department, and I wiggle my eyebrows at him before I giggle. Mallory! Travis's voice admonishes me as his shoulders shake before he continues. Not that kind of advice. I'm going to be away on tour for 3 months. I know this is a crucial time for wedding planning. Stress tightens my belly as I think of my work schedule. Jack, my assistant, mentioned the other day we have a waiting list of clients seeking an opening in our calendar. Travis is obviously oblivious to my distress. I'll send you some ideas and plans. He goes on to explain various thoughts and feelings on how the wedding should go. I would have thought that Raven and I would discuss arrangements. Instead, I listened to a love-struck Travis tell me he wants his fiancée to be treated like a princess and how she deserves the most amazing wedding ever. Do you think you can do it? The question brings me out of my thoughts. I might have a new demanding client that has us locked into a tight contract, but I'll help where I am able. Don't worry, it'll all work out in the end. He smiles at me. He smiles as his gaze finds Raven, and I'm envious of the glow of love in his eyes. She's it for him, and he's it for her in return. That is so rare and precious, and I wonder that if even they even realize it. As my eyes roam the room, I catch Steve looking my way. They'll never have what they have, a voice claims in the back of my mind. I sigh with resignation and turn away from Steve to talk more with Travis instead of wishing for things I can't have. Almost there. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me, maybe I need to do this. Let's see. It might be that problem. Hopefully everything is okay with the mic now. Okay. Last part of this, the next morning, New Year's Day, a text message sounds on my phone as I put the finishing touches on my makeup and double check the hotel room to make sure I haven't missed packing anything. Before I pick up my cell, I gaze at the bed and remember how perfect those stolen moments with Steve were. But I can't let that happen again. I swipe the phone awake while shaking my head to find a text from Raven asking me breakfast in the restaurant she used to work for downstairs. After texting her back, letting her know that I'll be down in a few minutes, I ask her to order me a mimosa. I smile at her gumption. Some servers come by and chat with Raven as we're having brunch. So, how did last night go? I noticed you and Steve slinking out of the bar with sex in your eyes. She asks after a server leaves the table, a mile wide smile on her face. Don't start playing matchmaker. It's probably a one and done thing. Though he did ask me to attend a political event with him as a friend. That's not reading one and done to me. I'm not sure if I'll go with him. What kind of message would it send? Well, what do you wish for most? A server brings our food and saves me from having to come up with an answer on the fly, though it only works for so long. After a few bites, Raven is staring me down from across the table, waiting for an answer. I enjoy spending time with him, but I like what we already have. You know how I feel about relationships. Not every relationship is the same, and you aren't your mother or your grandmother. I don't have the skills for it. I'd rather we were just friends. If that will make you happy, well, benefits would be nice too. You should be upfront and honest with him. You amaze me with how much of a contradiction you are. You're fearless, but this stuff? She shrugs her shoulders. I punch her playfully, then take a quick drink of my mimosa to cover my nervousness. They broke the mold when they made me. I'm one of a kind, baby. I attempt to cover up the seriousness of the conversation, reverting to wiggling my eyebrows in her direction. Perhaps I will tell him what I want in the bedroom. Still there, huh? Maybe disconnect and reconnect. Yeah, I'm sorry. Why are you being silly? All right, so that was chapter 5 of If the Seas Catch Fire. Hopefully, you got to hear most of it. Um, I'm sorry if it was kind of bouncing in and out. But yeah, that is tea time with me. Um, Thank you, Jen. I hope you have a fantastic week. I will hopefully, health pending, be here Friday morning for writing sprints. And let's see. Yeah. And to tell you about Amber and Ashes that dropped that morning. So hopefully I'll see you there Friday. So take care, be safe, have a great week. Remember to prioritize well-being over productivity. It's still the beginning of the year. You got all year to get stuff done. It's going to be okay. Take your time. It is winter. You can have bear energy and just hibernate a little. So take care, be safe, and I will see you guys later. Bye bye.